The internal structure of Dicot root shows various tissue systems. In the first two videos, we learned the three types of tissue systems. Understanding about the tissue systems is important to learn the internal structure of Dicot root. So students, if you haven't learned the first 2 days part, please learn and study the internal structure of Dicot root. If we want to study the internal structure of Dicot root, we need a Dicot root. This is a root of bean, and we have to take a small slice of the Dicot root. A thin transverse section is necessary. What is transverse section? Transverse section means cross section. A small slice is taken across the root, and when we observe the slice under the microscope, we will see various internal parts. The outer part is epiplasma. Next to the epiplasma there is cortex. After the cortex there is endodermis. Endodermis is the last layer of cortex. Inside the endodermis there is stele. Epiplasma, cortex, endodermis, stele are the areas of the Dicot root. First, let us learn the headings. Let us memorize epiplasma, cortex, endodermis and stele. This is the ground plan of the internal structure of Dicot. This is the ground plan of the internal structure of Dicot root. The ground plan gives the outline idea. Let us mark the parts in this diagram. Epiplasma is the outermost covering. We have already learnt that epidermis is the outermost layer of root, stem and leaves. The epidermis of root is called as epiplasma or rhizodermis. Next to the epiplasma there is cortex. Cortex is a wide area. The last layer of cortex is endodermis. Endodermis is the last layer of cortex. All the components, that is all the tissues inside the endodermis, form a structure called as stele. Epiplasma, cortex, endodermis, stele are the four major regions of the Dicot root. The stele is made up of three types of areas. They are pericycle, vascular bundle and pith. In this diagram, pith is absent. Pith is absent in the mature roots. What are the components of stele? Pericycle, vascular bundle and pith are the components of stele. We know that vascular bundles are made up of xylem and phloem. This is a part of transverse section of Dicot root. It is a sector, enlarged part of the transverse section of Dicot root. Here the outermost covering is epiplasma. Epiplasma is called as rhizodermis. The rhizodermis is made up of single layer of cells. Root hairs arise from the epiplasma. Root hairs absorb water. Epiplasma is the outermost layer. It is made up of single layer of cells. The cells are parenchyma cells. What is epiplasma? Epiplasma is the outermost layer of the Dicot root. Root hairs arise from epiplasma. It is made up of single layer of parenchyma cells. Stomata and cuticle are absent in epiplasma. Stomata and cuticle are present in the stem and leaf epidermis. This is root epidermis. Epiplasma is root epidermis. Here Stomata and cuticle are absent. Now let us see the functions of the epiplasma. Root hairs arise from the epiplasma, help in absorption of water, and the epiplasma layer protects the internal parts. Now let us move on to the cortex. Cortex is a wide area. It is made up of parenchyma cells and it is multi-layered. The cortex is made up of many layers of parenchyma cells. How are the cells arranged? The parenchyma cells are arranged with lot of intercellular spaces. What is meant by intercellular spaces? The space between cells are called as intercellular spaces. And these parenchyma cells of cortex store water and food material. Water and food material are stored in the cells of cortex. Cortex is multi-layered and it is made up of parenchyma cells which are arranged with intercellular spaces. These cells store water and food materials. The last layer of cortex is endodermis. What is endodermis? It is the innermost layer of cortex. In Dicot root, the endodermis is made up of single layer of cells. Let us learn the endodermis in detail. The endodermis is made up of two important parts. They are passage cells. What are passage cells? Passage cells are cells of endodermis which allow the movement of water. Root hairs absorb water, the water passes through the cortex and through the passage cell, the water reaches the xylem. Here the passage cells are found opposite to the protoxylem. This diagram shows 4 protoxylem points. Passage cells are endodermal cells which are found opposite to the protoxylem points. So here there are 4 protoxylem points opposite to the protoxylem points. The endodermal cells are passage cells. Why are they called as passage cells? They are called as passage cells because they allow the movement of water towards the center of the root. And other cells of endodermis are not passage cells. They do not allow the movement of water. Their cell walls are thickened by Casparin strips. Passage cells do not have Casparin strips, but other endodermal cells have Casparin strips. The Casparin strips are thickened areas. They are band-like thickenings made up of chemical suberin. Casparin strips are band-like thickenings made of suberin. Casparin strips do not allow the movement of water, but the passage cells allow the movement of water. Passage cells do not have Casparin strips. Other endodermal cells have Casparin strips. Casparin strips are made up of a chemical suberin. Passage cells and Casparin strips are the important structures in endodermis. All the tissues inside the endodermis form a stele. What is stele? All the tissues inner to endodermis constitute stele. The stele is made up of pericycle, vascular tissues and pith. Let us learn the pericycle and vascular tissues in detail. This is endodermis. Stele is found inside the endodermis. The first part of the stele is pericycle. pericycle is made up of single layer of cells. Inside the pericycle, there are vascular tissues. Vascular tissues are arranged in bundles. Each vascular bundle is made up of xylem and phloem. Here there are 4 protoxylem elements. In between the xylem elements, there are phloem elements. Xylem and phloem elements are alternately arranged. This type of vascular bundles are called as radial vascular bundles. Vascular tissues are tetrarch. Here there are 4 protoxylem elements. This is called as tetrarch. The protoxylem is facing towards the periphery. The protoxylem projects towards the outer part. This condition is called as exarch. The xylem is tetrarch due to the presence of 4 protoxylem points, and the protoxylem points project towards the periphery. This condition is called exarch. In between xylem and phloem, conjunctive tissue is present. Let us see the conjunctive tissue. Here there is conjunctive tissue. Here also conjunctive tissue. Conjunctive tissue is found in between xylem and phloem. Here in Dicot root, the conjunctive tissue is made up of parenchyma. Conjunctive tissue is made up of parenchyma. It is found in between xylem and phloem. Pith is present in young root. In mature root, pith is absent. In mature Dicot root, pith is absent. Usually pith is present at the center. Here the center is occupied by a metaxylem, so there is no pith. So this is about the internal structure of Dicot root.